If we spend trillions of dollars and we achieve, some of your colleagues estimate 50 trillion, and it disappoints me that you're not willing to give the estimates. I hope you're not telling me you have no idea how much it's going to cost. That creates a whole new host of problems. But if it costs $50 trillion, as some of your colleagues have testified, to become carbon neutral by 2050, and I'm all for carbon neutrality, by the way, how much is that going to lower world temperatures?
What's up? Welcome to Congress Lens. Audrey here. And if you just watched that clip, you probably need a minute to process it. I know I did. Let's be clear about what we just witnessed. This wasn't your typical, polite committee hearing soundbite. This was Senator John Kennedy performing a masterclass in holding a powerful official accountable. He was asking the most basic, fundamental questions that every single American taxpayer deserves to have answered. How much will this cost, and what will we get for our money? And the response from Deputy Secretary of Energy David Turk? A stunning display of evasion. He had no numbers. He had no direct answers. He retreated into talking points about global leadership and future benefits, all while advocating for a policy with a price tag in the trillions. My opinion? This is exactly what our senators are supposed to be doing. They are stewards of the public purse, and Kennedy was doing that job with brutal, necessary clarity. He wasn't debating the science of climate change. He was demanding accountability for a monumental economic proposal. Stay with me through this breakdown, because this exchange exposes a huge problem in how massive government transformations are sold to the public. And by the end, I want to know what you think. Was Kennedy right to press so hard, or was he being unfair? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, thanks for being here. I want to tap your expertise for a moment. Give me your best estimate, just an estimate, I know, of how soon you think the United States of America will be carbon neutral.
So I think, according to the climate scientists around the world, and certainly the cutting-edge scientists that we need to rely on here in the U.S., we've got to get carbon neutral by 2050, and I'm very comfortable with that target, and I think that's the appropriate target.
By 2050.
Which is only 27 years. That is not a long time away.
And how much will that cost?
So the cost that I focus on even more is all the costs that are going to happen if we don't get our act together. How much will it cost to get us carbon neutral? It's going to cost trillions of dollars, and it'll cost tens of trillions of dollars if we don't get our act together.
How many trillions?
I don't have the estimate or the numbers in front of me. I've seen a variety of different estimates, but it's a large amount. Fundamentally transforming our energy economy is a big deal.
Tell me the estimates that you've seen.
I don't have those numbers right on hand.
So you're advocating that we become carbon neutral, but you don't know how much it's going to cost?
So there's an awful lot of estimates out there. It depends on technology improvement and other kinds of things.
You're the expert.
I know with
how much it's going to cost.
I know with the certainty of all the experts I've spoken about, it's cheaper to get our act together than it is to not get our act together on climate change.
Okay, then tell me the cost versus the cost that if we don't do it.
I think it's orders of magnitude different. If we don't get our act together, it's
you don't have a cost. You want us to get there, but you can't tell the American taxpayer how much it's going to cost? Is that your testimony?
It's going to save us money, and there's a lot of jobs.
Well, how do we know if you don't know how much it's going to cost?
I'd be happy to pull up the latest numbers that I've seen.
How about $50 trillion? Is that right?
It's going to cost trillions of dollars. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. If we spend trillions of dollars and we achieve, some of your colleagues estimate 50 trillion, and it disappoints me that you're not willing to give the estimates. I hope you're not telling me you have no idea how much it's going to cost. That creates a whole new host of problems. But if it costs $50 trillion, as some of your colleagues have testified, to become carbon neutral by 2050, and I'm all for carbon neutrality, by the way, how much is that going to lower world temperatures? Or how much is that going to reduce the increase in world temperatures?
So every country around the world needs to get its act together. Our emissions are about 13% of global emissions.
Yeah, but if you could answer my question, if we spend $50 trillion to become carbon neutral in the United States of America by 2050, You're the Deputy Secretary of Energy. Give me your estimate of how much that is going to reduce world temperatures.
So first of all, it's a net cost. It's what benefits we're having from getting our act together and reducing all of those climate benefits. We're seeing.
Let me ask again.
hundreds of
Maybe
billions
I'm
of dollars
being,
right now
maybe I'm not
in the
being
country.
clear. If we spent $50 trillion to become carbon neutral by 2050 in the United States of America, how much is that going to reduce world temperatures?
This is a global problem, so we need to reduce our emissions, and we need to do everything we can.
How much,
to
if we do our
influence other
part, is it
countries.
going to reduce
So
world
we're
temperatures?
13% of global emissions.
You don't
right
know,
now.
do you? You don't know, do you?
You can do the math. We need to.
You don't
reduce-
know, do you, Mr. Secretary?
So we're 13% of
If
global
you know,
emissions.
why won't
If
you
we
tell
went-
me?
If we went to zero, that would be 13%.
You
of
don't
the
know,
solution.
do you? You just want us to spend $50 trillion, and you don't have the slightest idea whether it's going to reduce world temperatures. Now, I'm all for carbon neutrality, but you're the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Energy, and you're advocating we spend trillions of dollars to seek carbon neutrality, and you can't, and this isn't your money or my money, it's taxpayer money, and you can't tell me how much it's going to lower world temperatures? Or you won't tell me? You know, but you won't?
In my heart of hearts, there is no way the world gets its act together on climate change unless the U.S. leads.
Tell me how much it's
The
going
US
to
needs to
reduce.
lead.
You can't tell me. Either that or you won't.
We're
And
13%,
that's
15%
that
roughly
the
of
President
global
of the
emissions.
United States needs. I've still got a few seconds. I got 22 seconds. I'm going to use them a different way. Mr. Secretary, shame on you for not answering my questions. Madam Administrator, how are we going to get plutonium pit production back on track?
Well, thanks, Senator Kennedy. We are doing, the most important thing we have to do to get pit production back on track is get craft workers in the facilities, finish our designs, get craft workers in the facilities, and that is happening. And so we have got great confidence between changes we're making in our processes, getting people on board, doing equipment pre-buys, particularly for glove boxes, which are limited manufacturers in the United States, that we will be able to make pits. We're going to be late. We're trying to catch up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Senator Heinrich.
Secretary Turk, let me give this a try. What's the difference between living in a world with 1 degree?
All right, let's break down why this exchange was so significant and why I think Senator Kennedy was completely justified. First, let's look at the sequence. Kennedy starts simple. Give me your best estimate. How soon will we be carbon neutral? Turk gives the 2050 target. Fine. Then Kennedy asks the logical next question, and how much will that cost? This is where it all falls apart for the administration's witness. Turk immediately pivots to the cost of inaction. Now, that's a valid point to discuss, but it's not the question asked. Kennedy is trying to nail down a baseline, a starting point for the debate. If you don't know the cost of Action Plan A, how can you credibly compare it to the cost of an Action Plan B? You can't. It's just speculation versus speculation. Kennedy, to his credit, tries to help him out. He even references the $50 trillion figure that's been floated by other experts. He essentially gives Turk a number to confirm, deny, or clarify. And what does Deputy Secretary Turk do? He says, it's going to cost trillions of dollars, there's no doubt about it, but won't touch the $50 trillion. Why not? If that estimate is wrong, say so. Tell us the right number. His refusal to engage with any specific figure is deeply troubling. This leads to Kennedy's second, and even more devastating, line of questioning. How much is that going to lower world temperatures? This is the billion or trillion dollar question. If the U.S., which is responsible for 13% of global emissions, spends an unimaginable sum of money to get to net zero, what is the actual, measurable global outcome? Turk's response is to talk about the need for U.S. leadership and a global effort. Again, not the question. And here's where Kennedy's repetition of, "You don't know, do you?" isn't just a soundbite, it's a diagnosis. He's highlighting that the deputy secretary is advocating for a policy with a vague, astronomical cost and an unquantified global benefit. Kennedy even does the math for him. We're 13%. If we went to 0, that would be 13%. The implication is clear. Even the theoretical maximum benefit of this single nation's effort is limited, yet we're being asked to sign a blank check. What makes this so powerful is Kennedy's tone. He's not yelling. He's calm, persistent, and methodically boxing the witness into a corner of his own vague rhetoric. He frames it perfectly. This isn't your money and my money, it's taxpayer money. That's the core issue. When a government official cannot or will not provide basic cost-benefit projections for a transformative policy, they are failing in their duty to the people funding it. The abrupt pivot to plutonium pits at the end was Kennedy's final point. It signaled that the conversation was over because no more useful information was going to come out. The witness was not prepared to answer fundamental questions. So, my final take? This wasn't a gotcha moment. These were gotcha questions that any competent project manager would ask on day one. How much? What's the deliverable? Senator John Kennedy was standing in for every American who's tired of grand, expensive government schemes that are long on promises and painfully short on specifics. He was demanding transparency, and in that room, it was in desperately short supply. What do you think, Congress lens? Was Kennedy's approach effective accountability? Or was he ignoring the bigger picture for a political moment? Let me know your reaction down in the comments. If you appreciated this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe to Congress Lens for more unfiltered analysis of what's really happening in the halls of power. Thanks for watching. I'm Audrey. See you in the next one.